NFL DFS Monday Night Showdown. Lineup advice: 49ers and Seahawks, FanDuel and DraftKings. Here for some advice for tonight's single game slate. I'm Brian Jester, co-founder at Occupy Fantasy, your host today, and of course, $1 million single game winner. What we're going to do here, we've been doing it the last couple of weeks. It's going to try to stick to 10 minutes. Going to keep an eye on the clock, give you a quick rundown, a first look at tonight's slate, both on FanDuel and DraftKings from a high risk and a low risk perspective. Give some early thoughts on how to construct some lineups, some key news that we should be monitoring, maybe some captains and MVPs that we should be looking at. Our full thoughts will be in the daily plug on OccupyFantasy.com. I write that for every Monday and Thursday showdown slate. Details every player, talks about lineup advice for different types of contests, and then of course specifically which contest to target for tonight's slate. So let's jump into it. To stick under that 10-minute mark, I think first glance tonight it actually looks like a pretty simple and easy low risk night, whereas some of these single game slates have been tough with high volume, expensive running backs. I think last night, Sunday night, Cowboys and the Vikings. But this week, if you look here especially, we can look right here on DraftKings. The number one running backs for both sides, Chris Carson, Tevin Coleman, are priced as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th, and 7th highest priced players respectively. We see that generally lets us know that this might be a pretty easy low risk night. Because what we want to do generally is try to lock up all the scoring for both sides if we can. How do we do that? Get both quarterbacks, get both high volume running backs or efficient running backs. And if you look, we can easily do that. If we go Wilson, Garoppolo, Carson, Coleman. Now, 25.50, generally not a lot left to spend per player, but tonight may be a little different. Because, well, first of all, let's look at the game from a betting market perspective. The 49ers opened as a 6.5 point home favorite. It's now up to 7, despite getting less than 50% of the bets. Moving towards a key number, that's a pretty sharp move. It sounds like some sharp money has definitely pushed that to 7. So we should like San Francisco in this spot. The game totals actually increased 3.5 points. Opened at 44, it's up to 47.5. That's a massive move. Either way, we have a 7-point home favorite. 49ers defense should be a top low risk play and probably in high risk too. So let's see here. So we're not going to be able to do this specifically with Russ Wilson at captain, and we might not want to anyways. Very tough matchup for Russ. In fact, in our model, Russ ranks outside the top 4 on DraftKings, which is pretty rare for a quarterback, especially one of Russell Wilson's standards. So we probably don't want to use him anyways in our captain spot in any contest type. But let's just say we drop down to Jimmy G at captain, and then we add Russ. So if we have the 49ers defense, that still doesn't leave us with anything. It's $100. We'll have to get creative. We'll probably have to go with one of the running backs here, probably Coleman as a 7-point home favorite. And the reason I say that you can have a little bit of salary left today is this George Kittle situation. So you see the red D here, George Kittle. Doubtful tonight. Nice little signal here. He's dealing with knee and ankle injuries, and judging by the comments from Shanahan, from Kittle himself, it doesn't sound like he'll be suiting up tonight. So what does this mean? Ross Dwelley, this undrafted tight end, he ran 22 routes last week with Kittle in and out of the lineup with that knee injury. Shout out to Pro Football Focus for the routes run metric. And he'll play a big role tonight. Let's not also forget that Kyle Juszczyk, their fullback, will be back tonight. And Juszczyk said it perfectly in an interview this week when a reporter asked him about how they're going to replace George Kittle if he does indeed miss this game. And Juszczyk said that, fullback, tight end, it's kind of interchangeable in this offense. And if you watched any of the 49ers games over the last few weeks, you probably noticed this too, where Kittle has been lining up at fullback in the backfield, H-back. Ross Dwelley, their tight end, has been lining up back there too to kind of replace Juszczyk. And Juszczyk can run all sorts of routes. Now, this is a long time ago, 2017. Things have changed, but Shanahan still was there as the coach. George Kittle only missed one game in 2017. He was still a rookie, but he was playing more than 50% of the snaps to start his rookie year. In the one game he missed, Kyle Juszczyk led the team in targets and receptions. In fact, over the second half of that season, with Kittle's injury still lingering a bit, he didn't play more than 50% of the snaps in really any of the games, and Juszczyk more than tripled his first half targets. So Juszczyk can definitely play a role. Ross Dwelley can definitely play a role. Now it's trying to figure out who's the best bet there, because if you look down here, scroll all the way down, Juszczyk is just $600 tonight. Ross Dwelley, $2K. Both guys incredibly affordable. So still trying to decipher. Got to talk to some beat reporters, read some more articles. The final determination between these two players will be in our daily plug on who you should play and in what spots. So occupyfantasy.com, members only. You definitely want to read that later. Should be up by 2 p.m. Eastern. All right, so Juszczyk, Dwelley, those guys will have a large enough role. Generally, we don't like playing these near minimum price guys on DraftKings on our low risk lineups. Generally doesn't work out, but I think both of these guys have paths to 10 points, which is something you want. And if not, you can always put the 49ers defense in your captain spot and fit in someone else if you're not comfortable with using Dwelley or Juszczyk. FanDuel, you probably have to. FanDuel low risk is always pretty tough. Unless we have a value play. Ideally, we like to have the value at running back. That's not the case. But if we go over to FanDuel, so we do Jimmy G, Russ, we get both running backs. Again, they're a little bit cheaper price than they should be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Carson is the sixth highest guy. Coleman the eighth highest. I don't know why. And then we have, you probably can't see it here, but we have 6K left over. And if we scroll all the way down, you'll notice, unsurprisingly, that both Dwelley and Juszczyk are 5K. Leaves us 1,000 left over. We can fit either one of these guys. This is a great way to play it on FanDuel tonight because you'll lock in the highest floor plays of the night. Some high upsides from both two. And then you'll get Juszczyk or Dwelley to round out your roster. So this is the way we would play it. It means probably more low-risk allocation than usual for tonight, which is always a good thing. Now, with that said, we're still going to take some high-risk shots, and we have about 3 minutes left here before we hit that ultimate 10-minute mark. So what are we going to do in high-risk contests? Again, 47.5 point total. It's creeped up. I don't even think it's creeped up. It's leaped up. It's leaped up to 47.5. Leaped. The past tense of leap. And 7-point home favorites. So, Coleman should be in play here. We talked about Coleman on their last Island game, the last Thursday game. Coleman was coming off a 4-touchdown game. Likely to be over-owned. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. But let's not forget, Coleman is dominating red zone touches. He's handling a good amount of work, getting work in the passing game, ultra-efficient touches, and only 4 teams have allowed more rushing touchdowns than Seattle this year, and that's despite Seattle allowing just 18 rushing attempts per game. So incredible efficiency from the opponents when it comes to running the ball versus Seattle. And again, 18 rushing attempts on average. You better believe that the 49ers will hit that number tonight. So 47.5, it's kind of on that line between lowest total, highest total. So we can do a little mix here of both running backs and pass catchers in our captain and MVP spots in high-risk contests. Do think Coleman's probably one of the top options. Chris Carson, again, he ranks pretty highly in our model. Hopefully he gets more involved in the passing game tonight than he has been the last couple of weeks. Now, receivers are tricky because the top 3 options in this game have all completely overperformed expectations and opportunity in recent weeks. So we looked at Tyler Lockett last week, 13 catches, 2 touchdowns. DK Metcalf, touchdown over 100 yards. Emmanuel Sanders last week. So the thing is, at least with Lockett and Metcalf, they are getting tons of volume. We're not sure that volume will be replicated with Sanders tonight, and maybe it will be with Kittle absent. So it's a rare situation where 3 guys are coming off huge games but are still in play as your captain based on the game script and projected volume. The other guy to keep an eye on here is Deebo Samuel. Now, Samuel's been playing a good amount of snaps. He actually, surprisingly, leads San Francisco's pass catchers in red zone targets. And if he had caught the touchdown last week where he was wide open and just completely dropped it, we may have seen him a little more expensive. We may have seen him be a little higher owned this week. But Samuel at a cheap price tag on both FanDuel and DraftKings. He is a pass catcher. Will go way under owned compared to those other 3. And in a high total game, could be the guy that sets you apart. Now, again, we're going to detail our full thoughts in our daily plug on occupyfantasy.com. So that's where you'll want to check after watching this video. So remember, members only, access for as little as $2 per week, and we'll post a link in the description when it's live. You'll also have access to our Occupy model, which does rank every player on FanDuel and DraftKings, both for single game and for the main slate. So you'll definitely want to check that out tonight too. All right, that'll do it. It's an interesting slate. Again, the George Kittle news makes it incredibly fun, and we're going to have to dig in a little deeper to find out who gets the biggest benefits. But again, we'll have some cheap options to help us fit in some of these stud players. All right, that'll do it. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Brian Jester FF. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Occupy Fantasy. If you like what we've done here, subscribe. Click that red button, subscribe. You'll get notified of any of our newest videos. We're doing at least 2 NFL Showdown videos per week. We'll also have our podcast and our live Twitch replays. And then Tuesdays and Fridays, we're doing NHL breakdowns, 10, 15-minute breakdowns. So be sure to subscribe. You'll like what we do. If you like this video specifically, please give us a thumbs up. And if you have any comments about how we can make this better, comment below. Or if you have questions about tonight's slate or a Showdown or DFS strategy in general, also comment, and we'll get back to you before 8:20, 8:15, whenever this game locks tonight. So thanks for listening. Brian Jester for Occupy Fantasy. We'll talk to you soon.